This episode is sponsored by Lake Monster Details, producing the legacy line of Don's Light and Magic parts, offering upgrade parts and decals for accuracy, special effects, and lighting. Visit www.lakemonsterdetails.com and make it glow.
Hey guys, Will here. Welcome back to Modeling from Edison's Chair. This is episode 12 of my original series 1350 Enterprise build, and got a little bit more work done to that since last week. So we'll take a look at what I've done, talk about a couple things. I've been working on this deflector dish, and it's turned out pretty well. So we'll take a look at what I did there, and give me a minute, put you on the table. We'll get to work. All right, guys. So here's where I'm at. Last week I talked about getting this all sealed up, and this week haven't gotten as far as I'd like to do. I was hoping to have this all these the window masks put on and ready to go to get primed, but I've been working on the seams, and I pretty much got this seam on the back of the spine here done. I filled in, done all my putty in around the base of the neck, the base of the pylons here. So got to get a primer coat on that, and but what I'm still working on is the bottom here. Still got some more sanding to do, and probably come back and do a little more fill on that, and put a primer coat on that and see how that seam looks. But it's coming together. So far it's turned out pretty well. I filled this in. I re-drilled these the 3 holes here at the bottom, or on the back here, for those colored lights. Right now I've got this one. I've still got to work on this main larger light on the back here, the dome, and I've got that masked off right now so I don't get any paint on that light in there. And one thing I want to say is I did make kind of a boob mistake here. I had put all this together and neglected to put my deflector housing in, and you're going to want to put this deflector housing, attach it to one of the sides before you seal this hole up, because the problem is these are tapered on the side, where these on the sides here, and then on the bottom. So it's actually a smaller fit back here, or a larger back here than it is at the front on the opening. So I thought I was going to have to crack this open to get the deflector housing on there, but fortunately I was able to stick it up top here and just gently wedge it down to where it finally popped into place. And surprisingly I was able to do it without busting either of the seams on it. So glad I was able to get that in place without messing up too much. But just a note, put this deflector housing in place before you seal this up, because it's kind of, you run the risk of having to wedge this in there and possibly pop one of these seams back open. So just keep that in mind. I know everybody else will get that right, and I'm the one person that probably screwed that up. But fortunately, like I said, I was able to get it in there without breaking those seams back open. And we're good to go. So I've got the deflector housing in place, and like I said, as soon as I get this bottom seam here done, I'll start doing my window masks. Get those masks on and get my first coat of primer on here, and then get hopefully the coat of our hull color on there, and that'll be ready to go. And then all I have left to do is that blue accent on the front here, which I've got an idea of what I'm going to do for that. So that's where I'm at on that part. What I did get done also was my deflector dish, and I kind of looked at some colors of the restored version, the restored filming model that the Smithsonian did, and went by, also looked at the colors that they talk about on your box here, and the colors they list here for your deflector dish are for this the rings here on the back, this part here, they call it a new penny copper metallic. So what I did was I went to, I had already picked this color up. I already talked about this, I think, on my last video or the video before last. I had picked up this Treasure Gold from Hobby Lobby, And this is a rose gold, this color here. So I thought initially, I thought that's what I was going to do my dish in, but it ends up being a little bit too light to be a copper color. So what I did was today, because it's Sunday and Hobby Lobby's closed, I went to Walmart and I picked up two colors that I want to try out. The first one was this, these are both folk art hobby paints or craft paints. And they are acrylic, but they're water-based. And I had never used these before. I had seen Boyd use them and talk about them on his Trekworks videos. And I figured I'd give them a try. So I picked two of these up. I picked up this antique gold, which I figured would work really well for the rings. And it did. It turned out pretty well. I know the lighting is not great. Let me see if I can move this lighting over here. But I like the way it turned out. It's got a bit of a sheen to it, but it's not overly bright. So that's so for the rings I used this folk art antique gold. It's a metallic color, and you can get these from Walmart. And the other one I used was antique copper. Again, folk art, which I picked up also from Walmart, and I used that for the deflector dish itself, and it did a really good job. One thing I'll say about these is, and I don't know if this is for all, like I said, this is the first time I've used the craft paints for doing any model painting, and but I had to really thin these out. And I will say, and so you guys have used this stuff will already know this, but do not use thinner to thin out craft paints, at least not these. What I found was using the thinner actually made these clump up, and as soon as I put it into my airbrush, it clogged it up right away. I had to go pull it apart, clean it all out. And so what I ended up doing was I ended up just diluting it with water. I mean, these are water based. So I ended up using, and I thinned these out a lot. I ended up using probably 60% water, 40% of the paint. May even been 70%, 30% paint. So he had to thin these out quite a bit. But you thin them out, put them in the airbrush, do a thin coat, and then I used my my heat gun to dry it real good, put on another thin coat. I probably ended up putting on 6 or 7 thin coats before I got to the final coat. Because if you put on too thick, because it's water based and you thin out with water, it'll run pretty easy if you try to put it on too thick. So you want to thin this stuff out really good and put on really thin coats and dry them frequently with, I use a heat gun. You can use a hair dryer if you have one. You don't have to go out and buy a heat gun. If you've got a hair dryer, just use that. It'll do just as good a job. But so I had to thin these out really well. Same thing with this one. I had to thin it out pretty thin for my airbrush to be able to push it through real good. So, but this one here is the one I ended up using this for the antenna or the spire there on the tip. And I posted pictures of these on Facebook, but when you look at it, it's a real close match to the restoration that the Smithsonian did on the studio model. So I'm really happy with the way that turned out. It looks really good. I had shoved all these wires back in there and did the test fit on just to see how it looked. It looks good. I'm not going to shove them all back in there right now, but so like I said, these craft paints, they're really good. I'm really pleased with the way that they go through the airbrush once you thin them out properly. Just a little trial and error on getting them to thin out properly. And the best thing about it is because they're water based, they clean up really well. You know, I just run some water through my airbrush, and then I ran didn't want to leave water sitting in there, so I ran some airbrush cleaner through a little bit after that just to get all the water out. And so they worked out pretty well. I'm really pleased with them. So if you haven't tried using craft paints, you know, go out, get a bottle, try it out, test it out. If you got an airbrush, they're only $1. I think these were like $1.70 or something like that. They're real cheap, and you get a lot of paint out of them. So I'll get a lot of future use out of these. So anyway, that's where I'm at with the model pretty much. I've got my masks here. These are the Aztec dummy masks that I talked about in the previous video. And so these are what I'll be using to mask off all my windows so that I can do the do my primer coat and then do my final base coat of the hull. And this is all I've got left to paint. The pylons for the warp engines are all done. The saucer section is completely done, and the decals are on. Although I did realize I missed 2 decals on the bottom I've got to put on the saucer. So that's no big deal. Just go back and put them on and then put another clear coat over top of it, and they'll be good. So working on that, and that's pretty much where I'm at with it right now. Like I said, hopefully when we come back next video, I'll have this all these masks on this hull, and maybe hopefully even have the first base coat on it, and we'll be that much closer to being done. And then it's just a matter of doing all the wiring. Once I get this painted up and done, I'll put my pylons on, get those all wired up, and then the last thing I put on will be the saucer section, and then we'll do the final wiring through the front here. And I'll run some wires down through the base here, through the tube into the base, and do my switches. So that way everything will be done with that, and all my power source and everything will be plugged in. And that'll be about it. So we're getting pretty close here. Not too much left to do. But other than that, the only other thing I want to mention was Mike I'd been talking to. You may have seen somebody, and I don't have the information as far as their name and all that, but there was a pretty cool diorama that was done with a TOS Original Series Enterprise, and I think it was a Klingon battle cruiser. But where he had made it look like it was there was a blast made to the ship, and he used a light I'd never seen before, and Mike told me to look up Edison filaments. So I looked it up and ordered this to try it out, and basically it's not an Edison filament in the true sense, because it's not a solid piece of wire. Basically what it is it looks like to me like it's multiple SMDs or something that they've strung together in here. But it's kind of a cool effect. Let's see here if I get this. But almost looks like one of those glow necklaces you used to get when you were a kid, you know. But if you look at it, the camera probably washes out the light, but you can basically tell it's a bunch of mini, it looks like SMDs, or it's very small dots throughout it. It's not just it's not a filament per se. So, but it still looks pretty cool. So I ordered 2 of these. I ordered the blue one, which I thought you might be able to use to avoid hot spots in the warp engines. But I don't know that that's going to be bright enough. I'm going to have to do a test on it whenever I get around to building my next 1350 refit, and see if that will be bright enough or not. You know, even if you got to run 2 or 3 of these through there. Then we got to look at the power consumption of that, which these only run off of, these only take up I think 3 volts or something like that, 3.5 volts. So they don't take a whole lot, but they're pretty cool looking. So I'm going to be looking to use these in a future build. There's one there, it's kind of an orange or a red, depending on how you want to look at it. So those are pretty cool, but I just thought I'd show everybody those. I didn't know if everybody was familiar with the diorama that was that I'm talking about, that was built using these, and or if you were even familiar with what they were called. But I just went online, like Mike told me, he gave me a link for it. If I can, I'll find the link and post it with this video. But it's pretty cool to have other options to look at. So maybe take a look at them and see if you want to use them for something. But anyway, that's basically it for this episode. I just want to catch you up where I'm at, talk about these water-based paints a little bit, and show you where I'm at as far as my deflector dish. Looks pretty good. So next video, like I said, we'll come back and hopefully I'll have the mask on the interconnecting dorsal here, or the neck, and the secondary hull, and we'll be ready to paint that up. So just want to say again, I appreciate everybody for watching. Thank you for subscribing. If you don't want to subscribe, you don't have to subscribe, but please, if you find anything useful in these videos, hit the like button down below. Let me know how I'm doing. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them below, or if you're on Facebook, my link for my Facebook page is down below. Click on that and follow me on Facebook. But otherwise, till next time, keep modeling.